Hi guys, I'm extremely tired today and sick once again because the harassment continues here. So I won't be going to the tenant association. Of course, it's the holidays. They've already ruined my birthday, and we have Thanksgiving here coming up, and then Christmas, of course, which was constantly a problem. I won't get into holidays with someone who's abusive, but I want to touch base on this whole thing with my cousin's daughter, Ms Kahil, Jillian Cahill. My cousin was pregnant at 16. I stood by her for years of this kind of harassment and abuse, certainly with my graduation party, with this Marie, who's a corrections officer, hooking up with my boyfriend at the time, Roger. The destruction there, the accusations with the pool ladder, and which wasn't true, with the phony receipt, and so on and so forth that I never did. And then I walked into a courtroom all these years later, and I was told I stole the pool ladder. So that was never true. That was on my mother, and she was supposed to tell the truth and didn't. But anyway, getting back to Ms Cahill, the reason I'm bringing this up because she's a communication manager over at Bethlehem, or director. While she was involved in the destruction of my career, and I think it's relevant. Bethlehem has certainly had their share, like other communities, of people reporting sexual violence, sexual inappropriateness, different things are surrounding this issues, which we're seeing also in other communities, so on and so forth, with the Me Too movement, which with all this violence towards me and my community, which got me started in some of this, which wasn't my career direction. I was a communications manager before this started, lined up to be a director, and these two women, my cousin and her daughter, have repeatedly caused trouble, whether it was with my ex-husband's friends, with a woman who also passed away, Nikki Larman, and her husband Randy at the time. She had started trouble with them, this Miss Cahill. Nikki made it very clear she had moved on, remarried because her ex-husband was alcoholic. He had been in prison. And I had went to her repeatedly because she had been in my wedding, and Miss Cahill was involved in that, causing trouble. So I had went to her repeatedly. At the end of her life, she had gotten cancer. There was other issues with friends because they were getting donations, and Miss Cahill got herself involved in that situation, which was extremely hurtful. Nikki had cancer. I had asked her repeatedly to see her before that. She had cut ties with my ex-husband because my ex-husband is a drinker. And that was her first marriage with a friend of the family who my mother considers a son, Mr. Randy Hemstreet, that made up a bunch of lies that I found myself in court over him because he was our plumber. And Miss Cahill was involved in that with her mother. And this Donna and Chuck Huber and Johnny and Lori Casellas, who owned a business in Broadalbin Meatland. So Miss Cahill has involved herself repeatedly in my affairs, to the detriment of going to court and losing all my assets. So these two have been doing this, certainly with my cousin's first marriage, Miss Cahill's father, Mr. Tom Dewell. This has been going on for a long time. I have had no real interactions with Miss Cahill since she's been a child. And then I wasn't even around her, alone with her, because my cousin would play all kinds of games with her brother. My cousin and her brother, Irvin Hughes, which I have talked about with his heroin addiction. He was friends with my ex-husband, and their Uncle Bud. So Miss Cahill needs to check herself because she's been stalking me repeatedly. She's been involved with my ex-husband's friends repeatedly, whether it's show machine riding with Donna and Chuck Huber, whether it's Lisa and Dave Filiberto, and this other group, Casellas, that used to go on snowmobile trips. So she needs to get out of my business. And the only reason I'm talking about this is because now she's the communications director over there, which is undermining my credibility after my career was destroyed, and speaking out on these issues in terms of being sexually assaulted, being molested and the baby trapping and the sexual harassment throughout my career and various other issues. And certainly when it comes to other children in the family, she's been inserting herself in business that isn't hers, without any discussions from my half family, certainly with my godmother, certainly with her own mother and father, and certainly with family members that I know, that I have been told about her intrusion in my life. I wouldn't normally bring up other people's children, but I think in this case it's relevant, certainly with the professional status she has at Bethlehem. And certainly with the individuals that I've been dealing with lately, that continue to perpetuate these lies. And this is the type of stuff that goes on where these people get their children involved, like Mr. Spencer has his son involved, his sons and his daughter. And certainly this has been the case with Mrs. Theron and her first husband, and now her daughter, Ms Jillian Cahill, that works over at Bethlehem now as a communications director, which she got that position as soon as my career was destroyed, and also with my photography business and my graphic design business. So we could talk more about this, because certainly they get these kids involved in this stuff with this hate fest and making allegations, and certainly making allegations about her uncle and various other people in the family. And then this resulted in the denial of all my assets and this ongoing police involvement. Be safe, guys.